He froze in the doorway like she'd slapped him across the face, his body going rigid as if someone had poured ice water down his spine. Naomi stood there in the dimly lit hallway of their penthouse, her dark skin gleaming with tears that caught the amber light from the chandelier above, mascara streaking down her beautiful face in ugly black rivers. Their 4-year-old son, Jay, clutched her leg desperately, his small fingers bunching the fabric of her dress, his face buried against her thigh as his little body shook with confused sobs. "So it's true?" Her voice cracked like breaking glass, each word sharp and jagged. "You've been meeting her? After everything you promised me? After you swore on our son's life that she meant nothing?" Minjun's jaw tightened, the muscle jumping beneath his skin, his hands curled into fists at his sides. "Naomi, it's not— don't." She held up her hand, and he could see it trembling, shaking so hard she had to steady it with the other. "Just don't. I found the texts, the restaurant receipts from that place in Gangnam where you proposed to me, the goddamn hotel keycard in your jacket pocket when I was taking your suits to the dry cleaner." His heart slammed against his ribs so hard he thought they might crack. "Shh, shh, shh, shh. Let me explain." "Explain what?" She laughed, but it sounded broken, shattered, like something dying. "That you've been fucking your ex-girlfriend while I'm home with our son? While I'm trying to save our marriage? While I'm working myself to exhaustion at the museum and coming home to cook dinner for a husband who can't even look me in the eye anymore? I haven't touched her." His voice came out cold, automatic, the lie sliding off his tongue like oil, like he'd practiced it. Because he had. Everything went silent. The whole world seemed to hold its breath. Even Jay stopped whimpering, his tear-stained face peeking out from behind his mother's leg. "You're lying." Naomi's voice dropped to barely a whisper, but it cut deeper than any scream. "I can see it in your eyes. The same way you looked at me 3 years ago when you said you loved me, when you promised me forever. You still love her, don't you? You never stopped loving her. I was just the replacement, the distraction until she came back." He should have said something, anything. Should have told her she was wrong, that she was everything, that he was just confused. But the words died in his throat, strangled by the truth he'd been avoiding for 3 months. Because she was right. Elena had come back into his life 3 months ago, walked into a business meeting like a ghost from his past, and every wall he'd spent years building came crashing down in an instant. "Please," Naomi begged, and the sound of her voice breaking completely shattered something in his chest. "Please, Minjun. Just tell me the truth. I deserve that much. After 3 years of marriage, after giving you a son, after moving halfway across the world for you, I deserve the fucking truth. I don't love you anymore." The words left his mouth before he could stop them, before he could think, before he could process what he was doing. "I never stopped loving her. Elena she's the one. She always has been." Naomi's knees buckled. She grabbed the wall to keep from falling, her breath coming in sharp, painful gasps. Jay started crying again, louder this time, his small hands reaching up for his mother, and Minjun just stood there, 6 feet away from his collapsing family, and felt absolutely nothing, just emptiness, just the cold, familiar void he'd lived in before Naomi, before she'd taught him what warmth felt like. 3 years earlier. You can't just walk into a contemporary art gallery and tell me this Jackson Pollock piece is just paint splattered on canvas, like my nephew could do it? Naomi laughed, the sound rich and melodic, her curls bouncing as she shook her head. The movement sent her coconut-scented shampoo wafting toward him. She wore a burgundy wrap dress that hugged every curve of her body, and Minjun couldn't stop staring at the way the fabric moved when she gestured passionately about art. "I'm saying what everyone's thinking but is too pretentious to admit." He smirked, hands shoved deep in his pockets, trying to look casual even though his heart was racing. "Your job is to make me appreciate it, to convince me it's worth the millions these people pay. My job is to curate exhibits that challenge perspectives and showcase artistic genius, not perform miracles on stubborn Korean businessmen with no taste. But her dark brown eyes sparkled with challenge, with interest, with something that made his stomach flip. Though I suppose I could try to educate you, if you're actually willing to learn and not just here to argue with me. They were standing in the Liam Museum in Seoul, surrounded by masterpieces that Min-jun couldn't give a damn about. He'd come because one of his business associates, the legitimate kind, not the ones who knew what his family really did, had invited him to some charity auction. He'd expected to be bored out of his mind, to spend 2 hours pretending to care about art while networking with Seoul's elite. Then he saw her, Naomi Brooks, 28 years old, recently relocated from New York to Seoul for a prestigious curator position at one of Korea's most renowned museums. Beautiful in a way that made his chest tight and his hands sweat. All curves and confidence and unapologetic blackness in a country that didn't always know what to do with people who looked like her. Brilliant, passionate, completely and utterly unimpressed by him. "Dinner," he said, taking a step closer, invading her space just enough to make his intentions clear. "Let me take you to dinner and you can explain art to me. Teach me why this matters." That's a terrible pickup line. She crossed her arms, which only emphasized her cleavage in that dress. And I've heard better from men with actual appreciation for culture. "I'm not trying to pick you up. I'm trying to learn." He moved even closer, close enough to smell her perfume, something vanilla and warm that made him want to bury his face in her neck. "Unless you think I'm unteachable? That I'm just another rich asshole who can't understand what you do?" She bit her full bottom lip, considering him with those intelligent eyes that seemed to see right through every wall he'd ever built. "One dinner, but we're going somewhere with actual culture. Not some fancy steakhouse in Gangnam where you try to impress me with your money and connections." He took her to a small, family-owned restaurant in Itaewon that served the best kimchi jjigae in Seoul, the kind of place where the Ajumma knew his name and scolded him for not visiting enough. They sat at a cramped table with mismatched chairs, and they talked for 4 hours straight. She told him about growing up in Brooklyn, about being the daughter of a single mother who cleaned houses and worked double shifts to put her through art school at NYU, about feeling like an outsider everywhere she went, too black for the white art world, too uppity for some folks back home who thought she was putting on airs with her museum job, about her ex-boyfriend who'd cheated on her with a blonde coworker, about her dreams of opening her own gallery someday. He told her about his family's import-export business, carefully editing out the parts about weapons trafficking and money laundering and the bodies that sometimes ended up in the Han River, about his mother who'd left when he was 8 years old because she couldn't handle the violence, about his younger brother, Tae-hyun, who was everything Min-jun wasn't. Reckless, passionate, alive. "What do you really do?" she asked as they lingered over soju, her eyes too perceptive, too knowing. "And don't give me that import-export bullshit. I grew up in Brooklyn. I know what family business means. Things I'm not proud of." He met her gaze directly, refusing to lie to her even though lies would be easier. "Things I'm trying to leave behind. Things that would probably make you run if I told you the details." She should have run, should have paid her half of the bill, wished him well, and never looked back. Instead, she reached across the table, her hand warm and soft against his scarred knuckles, and said, "We all have pasts, Min-jun. The question isn't where we've been. It's who we want to be tomorrow." He fell in love with her that night, completely, irrevocably, terrifyingly. He proposed 6 months later on the roof of the same museum where they'd met, with Seoul spread out beneath them like a sea of lights. She said yes before he even finished his speech, laughing and crying and kissing him so hard they nearly fell over. They got married 3 months after that in a small ceremony at a boutique hotel, with her mother flown in from New York and his legitimate business associates as witnesses. His underground contacts stayed away. He wanted to keep Naomi separate from that world, wanted her to be the one pure good thing in his life. For 2 years, it worked. They had Jay, and Minjun fell in love all over again watching Naomi become a mother. Her career flourished. She curated a groundbreaking exhibit on African diaspora art that got international attention. Minjun slowly, painstakingly extracted himself from the darker parts of his family's organization, focusing on their legal operations, building something he could be proud of. He was happy, actually genuinely happy for the first time in his entire fucking life. Then Elena came back. Elena with her delicate features and her history with him and her perfect understanding of his world. Elena, who'd left him 7 years ago because being with him was too dangerous, who'd married a diplomat and moved to Singapore. Elena, who was now divorced and back in Seoul and looking at him like no time had passed at all. And Minjun, like the coward he was, fell right back into old patterns. Present day, Naomi stuffed another sweater into her suitcase, her hands shaking so badly she could barely grip the fabric. Tears kept falling, hot and relentless, blurring her vision until she couldn't see what she was packing anymore. She didn't care. She just needed to get out, needed to leave before she completely shattered. Her best friend Keisha sat on the bed behind her, arms crossed, fury radiating off her in waves. "You don't have to leave Seoul," Keisha said, her voice tight with controlled anger. "You could just go to a hotel for a few days, clear your head, make him sweat." "I need to go home." Naomi's voice was hoarse from 3 hours of crying, raw and broken. "Back to New York, back to Brooklyn, back to somewhere I can breathe without smelling her perfume on his clothes, without seeing her lipstick on his collar, without remembering every single lie he's told me for the past 3 months." That bastard. Keisha's hands curled into fists against the duvet. I never fully trusted him. He was too handsome, too smooth, too good to be true. Men like that always have secrets, always have someone on the side. Naomi laughed bitterly, the sound catching on a sob. I knew about his past, the Mafia connections, the violence, all the dark shit. I thought I could handle it, thought love could change him, make him better. God, I'm so fecking stupid. "Stop!" Keisha moved to her side, grabbing her shoulders, forcing Naomi to look at her. "You're not stupid. You're not naive. You're human. You loved him. You built a family with him. You took a chance on someone and he threw it away. That's on him, not you." Jay wandered into the bedroom, his favorite stuffed tiger clutched to his chest, his eyes red and swollen from crying. "Mama, why are you sad? Why are you packing?" Naomi's heart shattered all over again. She dropped to her knees, pulling him into her arms, breathing in his baby shampoo smell and little boy sweetness. "We're going on an adventure, baby, to see Grandma in New York. Remember Grandma? She makes the best pancakes. Is Appa coming?" His voice was so small, so hopeful. She closed her eyes, tears soaking into his hair. "No, sweetheart. Appa has to stay here for work. Important work he can't leave." "But I want Appa." His voice rose, panic creeping in. "I want Appa to come. I want Appa to read me stories." "I know, baby, I know you do." She kissed his forehead, his cheeks, his nose, trying to kiss away the pain she'd caused him. "But sometimes grown-ups need time apart, and Appa will call you. Every day, I promise." "You promise?" "I promise." He seemed to accept this, nodding seriously before wandering back out to watch cartoons. Keisha helped her finish packing in silence. When the suitcases were zipped, when Naomi had booked flights for the next morning, when there was nothing left to do but leave, her phone buzzed. "Minjun, we need to talk." "Minjun, don't leave like this." "Minjun, Naomi, answer me." "Minjun, please." She stared at the messages, her thumb hovering over the keyboard. Part of her, The stupid, hopeful part that still loved him wanted to respond, wanted to give him a chance to explain, to apologize, to fix this. But the rest of her, the part that had spent 3 months watching him pull away, knew better. She blocked his number. Then she blocked Elena's number for good measure. Then she turned off her phone and cried herself to sleep on the couch, with Keisha keeping watch like a guardian angel with a box of tissues and a heart full of righteous fury. Seoul, Min-jun. Min-jun sat in his office at 2 a.m., staring at the divorce papers Naomi's lawyer had couriered over within 24 hours of her leaving. The woman worked fast, faster than he'd expected, faster than he deserved. The papers sat on his desk like an accusation, like evidence of his spectacular failure as a husband and father. "You look like shht." His younger brother Tae-hyun leaned against the door frame, arms crossed over his leather jacket, eyes hard. "Heard your wife left you, took your kid and flew back to America. Can't say I'm surprised. You've been sabotaging that relationship since the day Elena showed up." "Not now, Tae-hyun." Min-jun didn't look up from the papers, couldn't look up, couldn't face the judgment in his brother's eyes. "When, then? When you've completely destroyed everything good in your life? When you've driven away the only woman who ever made you human?" Tae-hyun stepped into the office, his voice rising. "Naomi was the best thing that ever happened to you. She made you laugh. She made you care about something other than money and power and proving yourself to father. She gave you a son, for fuck's sake. And you threw her away for what? Elena? The woman who left you the moment things got dangerous? The woman who married someone else and didn't look back for 7 years? You don't understand. I understand that you're a coward." Tae-hyun's voice was cold, cutting. "You were scared of being happy. Scared that Naomi would leave like Mother did. Scared that if you loved her too much, she'd see the real you and run. So you sabotaged it first. You pushed her away before she could leave you. Classic self-destruction, Hyung. Father would be proud." "Get the fuck out of my office." "Gladly." Tae-hyun turned toward the door, then paused. "But when you finally wake up and realize what you lost, and you will, because the regret's already eating you alive, don't come crying to me. I told you to fight for her. I told you Elena wasn't worth it. You didn't listen." The door slammed so hard the windows rattled. Min-jun sat there in the silence, surrounded by the trappings of success. Expensive furniture, original artwork, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Seoul, and felt completely, utterly empty. His phone sat on the desk. Elena's number was right there. He could call her. She'd answer. She'd come over. She'd tell him he'd made the right choice, that they belonged together, that Naomi was never right for him anyway. He picked up the phone, stared at it, put it down. Then he pulled out his laptop and booked a flight to New York, because Tae-hyun was right. He was a coward. But maybe, he could stop being one. New York. 2 weeks later, Naomi stood in front of the Museum of Modern Art, her portfolio clutched to her chest like armor, her heart pounding so hard she could hear it in her ears. She'd managed to secure an interview for a junior curator position through a colleague's connection. It was a significant step down from her role in Seoul, but she needed work, needed purpose, needed something to focus on other than the endless loop of pain and betrayal playing in her head. Naomi Brooks, a tall black man in an impeccably tailored navy suit, approached her, hand extended, smile warm and genuine. "I'm Marcus Williams. I'll be conducting your interview today. I've been looking forward to meeting you." She shook his hand, noticing the firmness of his grip, the intelligence in his eyes. "Thank you so much for seeing me on such short notice. I know my situation is complicated." "Complicated is interesting." He gestured toward the entrance. "And your work speaks for itself. That contemporary African diaspora exhibit you curated at Liam last year? I flew to Seoul specifically to see it. Groundbreaking doesn't even begin to cover it. Come on, let's talk." The interview went better than she could have imagined. Marcus was intelligent, thoughtful. genuinely interested in her ideas about expanding MoMA's representation of Black artists and creating programming that made art accessible to communities that had been historically excluded. They talked for 2 hours, the conversation flowing easily, naturally, like they'd known each other for years. "I'd like to offer you the position," Marcus said as they stood in the museum's soaring atrium, sunlight streaming through the glass ceiling above them. "But I have to be honest about something else. I'm also asking because I'd like to take you to dinner, not as your boss. I'd never abuse that dynamic, but as someone who finds you absolutely fascinating and would love to get to know you better." Naomi's stomach twisted, her hand instinctively moving to her ring finger where a tan line still marked where her wedding ring had been. I'm going through a divorce. It's fresh, really fresh. I'm not ready to—" "I know." His eyes were kind, understanding, with no pressure or expectation. "I saw the ring tan line, and I'm not asking you to be ready today or next week or even next month. I'm just saying that when you are ready, whenever that is, I'd like to be the person you call. No pressure, no expectations, just possibility." She didn't know what to say. Marcus was handsome, successful, kind, genuinely interested in her work. Everything Minjun wasn't, everything she deserved, but her heart still belonged to a man who'd shattered it into a million pieces. "Can I think about it? About the dinner, I mean. I'll definitely take the job if you're offering." "Take all the time you need." He handed her his card, his fingers brushing hers briefly. "The job offer stands regardless of your answer about dinner. I meant what I said. I'd never leverage a professional relationship for personal gain. You're brilliant at what you do, and we'd be lucky to have you here." That night, lying in her childhood bedroom in her mother's small Brooklyn apartment, with Jay asleep beside her, curled into her side like he was afraid she'd disappear if he let go, Naomi allowed herself to fully break down. She cried for the marriage she'd lost, for the man she'd thought Min Jun was, for the family she'd built, for the life she'd left behind in Seoul, for the future she'd imagined that would never exist now. She cried until her throat was raw and her eyes were swollen and her chest ached with the weight of grief. Her mother found her like that at 3 a.m., climbed into bed beside her like Naomi was still a little girl with a scraped knee, and held her while she sobbed. "You're going to be okay, baby," her mother whispered, stroking her hair. "It doesn't feel like it now, but you're strong. You've always been strong, and you're going to survive this." "I don't want to just survive, Mama," Naomi choked out. "I want to stop hurting." "I know, baby, I know." But the hurt didn't stop. It lived in her chest, a constant ache that followed her through every moment of every day. Seoul. 1 month later, Minjun sat across from Elena at the same restaurant in Gangnam where he'd proposed to Naomi 3 years ago. The irony wasn't lost on him. The cruelty of it made him sick to his stomach. Elena looked beautiful as always. Delicate features, designer dress, hair perfectly styled. Everything about her screamed elegance, sophistication, the kind of woman who fits seamlessly into his world. So why did everything feel wrong? "You've barely touched your food," Elena observed, concern crossing her perfect features. "Are you feeling all right?" "I'm fine." But his voice was flat, dead, unconvincing even to his own ears. "You're not fine. You haven't been fine since she left." Elena set down her chopsticks, reaching across the table to take his hand. "Minjun, you need to be honest with yourself about what you really want." "I'm with you. That's what I wanted." "Is it?" Her eyes were too knowing. "Because from where I'm sitting, you look miserable. You've lost weight. You're not sleeping. I can see the circles under your eyes. You barely respond to my texts, and every time your phone rings, you look like you're hoping it's her." He pulled his hand away, jaw tight. "I miss my son, that's all." Liar. But she said it gently without accusation. "You miss her too. Your wife, Naomi. You miss her laugh and her intelligence and the way she challenged you. You miss the person you were when you were with her. Stop. I'm not saying this to hurt you. I'm saying it because it's true. Elena stood, gathering her purse, her expression sad but resolved. We made a mistake, Minjun. Coming back together, I thought we could recapture what we had 10 years ago. But we're different people now. You're different. She changed you, made you better, and I think you're still in love with her. I told her I didn't love her anymore. His voice cracked, the words scraping his throat raw. I destroyed her, Elena. You didn't see her face when I said it. Didn't see the way she collapsed. Didn't hear our son crying, asking why his mother was on the floor. Then fix it. Elena leaned down, kissing his cheek softly. Go to New York. Grovel. Beg. Do whatever it takes. Because if you don't, you'll regret it for the rest of your life. And I care about you too much to watch you destroy yourself over pride and fear. She left. Minjun sat there alone, surrounded by the ghosts of better memories, and finally admitted the truth to himself. He'd made a catastrophic mistake, and he had no idea if Naomi would ever forgive him. New York, same night. Naomi stood in her mother's bathroom at midnight, staring at the positive pregnancy test in her shaking hands. No, 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 no. She was pregnant, again, with Minjun's baby. The universe had a sick sense of humor. Mama? Jay's sleepy voice called from the hallway. I had a bad dream. Can I sleep with you? Yeah, baby. Just a minute. Her voice sounded strange, distant, like it was coming from underwater. She wrapped the pregnancy test in toilet paper, shoved it deep in the trash, and splashed cold water on her face. She couldn't fall apart. Not now. Not when Jay needed her. But as she climbed into bed with her son, his small, warm body curling trustingly against hers, the reality crashed over her like a wave. She was going to have another baby, Minjun's baby. She'd be tied to him forever now, connected by 2 children, unable to ever fully escape. The tears came silently, soaking into her pillow while Jay slept peacefully beside her. Her phone buzzed on the nightstand. Keisha. Keisha. You up? I have news. Good news, for once. Naomi grabbed the phone, desperate for anything to distract her from the panic clawing at her throat. Naomi. I'm up. What's the news? Keisha. James proposed. He fucking proposed. We're getting married. Despite everything, Naomi smiled. At least someone was getting their happy ending. Naomi. Oh my God, congratulations. I'm so happy for you. Keisha. I want you to be my maid of honor, and before you say you'll be too pregnant or whatever, we're not getting married until next summer, so you have no excuse. Naomi. Wait, how did you know I'm pregnant? Keisha. Are you serious right now? Naomi. I just found out tonight. How the hell did you know? Keisha. Because I know you, and I know that panicked energy you've been giving off all week. Plus you ordered orange juice instead of mimosas at brunch yesterday. Orange juice, Naomi. You never drink orange juice. Naomi, I hate you. Keisha, you love me. Now tell me how you're feeling. Honest feelings only. Naomi, terrified, angry, overwhelmed. I don't know how to do this alone. Keisha, you're not alone. You have me. You have your mom. You have Marcus making puppy eyes at you every time you're at the museum. You've got this. Naomi, I'm not ready to date Marcus. Keisha, I didn't say date him. I said you have options. That's all. Options. You're not trapped, and you're not alone. Remember that. 20 minutes later, Keisha showed up at the apartment with Thai food and ice cream despite the late hour. They sat on the couch eating pad Thai straight from the containers while Naomi told her everything. The positive test, the fear, the overwhelming sense of being trapped. Does Minjun know? Keisha asked around a mouthful of noodles. Hell no, and he's not going to know until I decide if I'm even keeping it. Are you considering not keeping it? Naomi's hand moved to her stomach instinctively. I don't know. Maybe. I don't know if I can handle being connected to him forever. Every custody exchange, every holiday negotiation, every time I look at this baby's face and see his features staring back at me. That's valid. Keisha squeezed her hand. Whatever you decide, I support you. 100%. No judgment. But don't make the decision based on him. Make it based on what you want. What's best for you and for Jay. When did you get so wise? I've always been wise. You just never listened. Keisha grinned. Now eat your ice cream and tell me about Marcus, because that man is fine, and he's clearly sprung on you. Despite everything, Naomi laughed, and for a moment, just a moment, the weight on her chest felt a little lighter. Seoul. 3 days later, Min-jun stood in his father's office, hands clenched behind his back, jaw tight. Kwon Jun-ho sat behind his massive mahogany desk like a king on a throne, his cold eyes assessing his son with the precision of a man who'd built an empire on reading people's weaknesses. Your wife left you, Jun-ho said without preamble, his voice like gravel. Took your son to America, filed for divorce within days. Efficient woman. Yes, sir. Because you were fucking Elena Park. Min-jun's jaw tightened. I wasn't... Don't lie to me. Jun-ho's voice dropped to a dangerous whisper. I have eyes everywhere. You met with her 17 times over 3 months. 4 of those meetings were at hotels. You think I don't know everything that happens in this city? Min-jun said nothing. What could he say? I liked Naomi, Jun-ho continued, standing and moving to the window that overlooked the Seoul skyline. She was strong, intelligent, unimpressed by our money and our power. She made you human, made you care about something other than proving yourself to me. I know. She made you weak in some ways, Jun-ho interrupted. Too emotional, too soft. You stopped attending important meetings because you wanted to be home for dinner with your family. You turned down lucrative deals because they weren't ethical. You started talking about leaving the organization entirely. Min-jun stayed silent, waiting for the other shoe to drop. But she also gave you something to fight for. Jun-ho turned, his expression unreadable. A reason to build legitimate businesses instead of just running our underground operations. A reason to create something that wouldn't get you killed or imprisoned. She made you want to be better, and you threw that away. I made a mistake. You destroyed the best thing in your life because you're afraid. Jun-ho's voice was sharp as a blade. Just like your mother was afraid. Remember her. The woman who left when you were 8 because she couldn't handle this world. The woman who abandoned her children because violence and darkness were too much for her delicate sensibilities? The words hit like bullets. Min-jun's mother had disappeared when he was a child, unable to cope with the brutality of the Kwon family business. He'd found her body 3 years later. Pills and alcohol and a note that said she was sorry, but she couldn't do it anymore. You've spent your whole life terrified that anyone you love will do the same thing, Jun-ho continued relentlessly, that they'll see the real you, the darkness, the violence, the blood on your hands, and they'll run. So you pushed Naomi away first, before she could leave, before she could abandon you like your mother did. Stop. The truth hurts. But Jun-ho's voice was almost gentle now. You're not me, Min-jun. You don't have to be alone. You don't have to be cold. You don't have to sacrifice love for power. Naomi gave you permission to be human, to be vulnerable, to care about something other than this goddamn organization, and you threw it away out of fear. Min-jun's eyes burned. He blinked hard, refusing to let tears fall in front of his father. What do I do? The question came out broken, desperate. You go to New York, you beg, you grovel. You prove to her that you're worth a second chance. Jun-ho put a hand on his shoulder, a rare gesture of affection that made Min-jun's throat tight. And if she doesn't take you back, you accept it. Because that's what love is. Letting someone go even when it destroys you. Respecting their choice even when it breaks your heart. Your mother couldn't do that, she ran. But you're stronger than she was. Prove it. New York 1 week later. Naomi adjusted the lighting on a Kehinde Wiley painting in MoMA's contemporary wing, her movements careful despite her exhaustion. Her first 2 weeks on the job had been overwhelming, but good. Challenging. Distracting enough that she could go hours without thinking about Min June. Almost. Ms. Brooks? One of the museum interns, a nervous sophomore from Columbia, approached hesitantly. "There's someone here to see you. He says it's urgent. I told him you were working, but he said he'd wait as long as it takes." "Who is it?" "He didn't give a name, just said you'd know him." Naomi frowned, turning away from the painting, and froze. Min June stood in the middle of the gallery, looking completely out of place in his expensive Tom Ford suit and perfectly styled hair. He looked thinner than she remembered, with dark circles under his eyes and a tension in his shoulders that suggested he hadn't slept in days. His eyes found hers across the room, and she saw something that made her breath catch in her throat. Desperation. Raw, unfiltered desperation. "What are you doing here?" Her voice came out steadier than she felt, but her hands were shaking so badly she had to cross her arms to hide it. "I need to talk to you." He took a step forward. She took a step back. "We have nothing to talk about. You made yourself very clear in Seoul. Your lawyer can contact my lawyer about the divorce proceedings and custody arrangements. I love you." The words exploded out of him, loud enough that visitors turned to stare, loud enough that the security guard looked over with concern. "I love you, Naomi. I've always loved you. I was just too fucking stupid and scared and broken to admit it." Everything went silent. The entire gallery seemed to hold its breath. Tourists stopped mid-step. The intern's eyes went wide. "You said..." Naomi's voice broke, and she hated herself for it. "You said you didn't love me anymore. You said you never stopped loving her. You said Elena was the one." "I lied." Min June's eyes were wet now, tears gathering at the edges that he didn't bother to hide. "I lied because I was terrified, because every woman I've ever loved has left me, and I thought if I pushed you away first, it wouldn't hurt as much. If I destroyed us before you could leave me, I could control the pain. But I was wrong. It hurt worse. It's been killing me every single day since you left. You don't get to do this." Tears streamed down Naomi's face, and she didn't care who saw. "You don't get to show up here and say you love me after what you did. After you destroyed our family. After you made our son cry himself to sleep every night asking why his father doesn't want us anymore." "I know." Min June's voice cracked completely. "I know I don't deserve forgiveness. I know I'm a piece of shit. I know I destroyed the best thing in my life because I'm broken and scared. But I'm begging you, Naomi. Please, give me a chance to fix this. Let me prove I can be the man you deserve, the husband you deserve, the father our son deserves. I'm pregnant." The words left her mouth before she could stop them, propelled by exhaustion and anger and the desperate need to hurt him the way he'd hurt her. "I'm pregnant with your baby, Min June, and I don't know if I'm even going to keep it because the thought of being connected to you forever makes me want to die." He looked like she'd punched him in the chest. All the color drained from his face. He swayed on his feet. We're having another baby?" "I'm having a baby. Maybe. If I decide to keep it. You made your choice when you chose Elena, when you chose your past over your future, when you threw away 3 years of marriage like it meant nothing. It meant everything." Min June closed the distance between them in 3 strides, and before she could step back, he dropped to his knees right there in the middle of the Museum of Modern Art, not caring about the growing crowd, not caring about anything except the woman in front of him. "You meant everything. You still mean everything. Naomi, I flew 10 hours to get here. I left my father's business. I ended things with Elena permanently. I started therapy to work through my abandonment issues. I've been calling Jay every single day, even though he cries and asks when I'm coming home, and it breaks my fucking heart." "Then why did you do it?" She was sobbing now, her whole body shaking. "Why did you throw us away if we meant so much?" "Because I was terrified of losing you." His voice broke on the words. "My mother left me when I was 8. She couldn't handle my father's world, the violence and the darkness. She killed herself 3 years later. And I've spent my entire life believing that anyone who really knows me, really sees the darkness inside me, will leave, will run, will choose death over staying with me. So when Elena came back and I felt myself falling into old patterns, I panicked. I thought if I chose her first, if I destroyed us before you could leave me, I could control the pain, I could survive it. But I can't. I can't survive without you, Naomi. I can't breathe without you. Please." The gallery was completely silent now. At least 20 people had stopped to watch this scene unfold. Security guards hovered nearby, unsure if they should intervene. Marcus appeared at Naomi's elbow, his presence solid and supportive. "Do you want me to have him removed?" She looked down at Min Jun, this powerful, dangerous man on his knees in a public museum, tears streaming down his face, completely vulnerable, and felt her heart crack open. "No," she whispered. "No, it's okay." Marcus nodded, stepping back but not leaving, making it clear he was there if she needed him. "Get up," Naomi said quietly. "Please get up. People are staring." Min Jun stood slowly, his eyes never leaving hers. "I love you. I know I've said it badly and I've proven it worse. But I love you, Naomi Brooks. I love the way you argue about art. I love the way you sing to Jay when you think no one's listening. I love how you make me want to be better. I love that you saw the darkness in me and didn't run. I love that you gave me a family. I love that you're carrying our child right now, even though you have every reason to hate me. I love you, and I will spend the rest of my life proving it if you'll let me." "I do hate you," she said, her voice breaking. "I hate you for what you did, for the lies, for choosing her, for making me doubt everything I thought we had. I hate you so much." "I know, but I also love you." The admission felt like defeat and relief all at once. "I never stopped loving you, and that's what makes this so hard, because I want to believe you. I want to trust you. But I'm scared, Min Jun. I'm terrified that you'll hurt me again, that you'll run the next time things get hard, that I'll wake up one day and you'll be gone. I'm not running this time." He reached out slowly, carefully, like he was approaching a wounded animal. When she didn't pull away, he cupped her face in his hands, his thumbs brushing away her tears. "I'm staying, no matter how hard it gets, no matter what happens. I'm choosing you, Naomi. Every single day, I'm choosing you. I'm choosing us. I'm choosing our family." She looked into his eyes and saw the truth there, saw the man she'd fallen in love with, saw the husband and father he'd been before fear had poisoned everything. "I need time," she whispered. "I need to see that you mean this, that you're not going to run back to Elena or someone else the moment things get difficult. I need you to prove, with actions, not words, that you're ready to be a real partner, a real father. Anything. I'll do anything. Then go back to Seoul for now." His face fell, devastation clear in his eyes, but she pressed on. "Go back. Close that chapter of your life properly. End things with your father's organization. Figure out who you are without the Mafia connections. Get therapy. Do the work to become the man you say you want to be. And if you still feel this way in 3 months, if you've actually done the work and become someone I can trust again, come back, and we'll talk, really talk, about our future." 3 months? 3 months. Her hands covered his, still cupping her face. "If you really love me, you'll wait. You'll prove it. Not with money or grand gestures or showing up at my job, with actual, consistent change." He nodded slowly, accepting her terms, even though she could see how much it cost him. "Okay, 3 months. But I'm calling Jay every single day, and I'm sending support for you and the baby. We don't need your money. Naomi. His voice was firm, the first spark of the commanding man she remembered. "You're carrying my child. You're raising my son. Let me take care of you financially, even if you won't let me be near you. Please." She wanted to refuse on principle, but she was tired. So tired. And being practical about finances didn't mean she was forgiving him. "Fine, but you don't get updates about the baby unless I choose to give them. You don't get to demand anything. You don't get to control anything. Understood?" Understood. He leaned forward slowly, giving her time to pull away, and pressed his lips to her forehead. The kiss was soft, reverent, full of longing. "Take care of yourself. Both of you. All three of you. Counting Jay." Then he stepped back, his hands falling away, and walked out of the museum. Naomi stood there surrounded by priceless art and curious onlookers, her heart screaming at her to call him back, her head reminding her why she couldn't. Marcus materialized beside her again. "That was intense. You okay?" "I don't know," she admitted. "I really don't know. Come on, let's get you some tea and somewhere quiet to process. You look like you're about to collapse." She let him guide her to the staff room, grateful for his steady presence, and tried not to think about Min Jun on a plane back to Seoul. Tried and failed. Seoul. 3 months later, Min Jun sat in Dr. Han's office, his hands clasped between his knees, jaw tight with frustration. "You're angry," Dr. Han observed calmly. She was in her 60s, sharp-eyed and no-nonsense, immune to his attempts to charm or intimidate her. "Tell me why." "Because this is bullshit." He gestured around the office. "Sitting here talking about my feelings doesn't change anything, doesn't bring Naomi back, doesn't fix what I broke. It changes you, and you changing is what will save your marriage." Dr. Han leaned forward. "You've been seeing me twice a week for 3 months. We've worked through your abandonment issues, your fear of intimacy, your tendency to self-destruct when things get too good. You've done the work, Min Jun, but you're frustrated because you want immediate results. You want Naomi to forgive you on your timeline. She's 7 months pregnant with my child, our child, and I'm here while she's there, going through everything alone." She's not alone. She has her mother, her best friend, her support system, and she told you what she needed, time and space to heal. Respect that. He slumped back in his chair, exhaustion washing over him. The past 3 months had been the hardest of his life. He'd stepped back from his father's organization completely, handed control of the underground operations to Tae-hyun, and focused entirely on their legitimate businesses. He'd cut off all contact with Elena, blocked her number, returned the jewelry she'd left at his apartment, made it crystal clear they were done forever. Every night he called Jay. His son's voice was the only thing that kept him anchored. "Appa, when are you coming home?" Jay had asked last week, his voice small and sad. "Soon, buddy. Really soon. I promise." "Mama says you have important work, but I miss you." "I miss you too, more than anything in the world." "Mama's tummy is getting really big. She says the baby is going to be my sister." Min Jun's heart had clenched. A daughter. He was going to have a daughter. "Are you excited to be a big brother?" "Yeah, I'm going to teach her everything and protect her like you protect us." Except he hadn't protected them. He destroyed them. Now, sitting in Dr. Han's office, Min Jun felt something shift inside him, a settling, a clarity. "I'm ready," he said. "I'm ready to go back to New York, to try again." Dr. Han smiled, the first genuine smile he'd seen from her in months. "Then go. And this time, don't run when things get hard. Don't sabotage yourself when things get good. Trust that you deserve happiness. Trust that Naomi sees you, really sees you, and chose to love you anyway." New York, same day. Naomi waddled into her mother's kitchen, her belly enormous at 7 months pregnant, her back aching, her feet swollen. Jay ran circles around her, playing with toy cars and talking nonstop about his baby sister. "You need to sit down," her mother scolded, pulling out a chair. "You're going to wear yourself out." "I'm fine, Mama." But she sank into the chair gratefully, her hand moving to her belly where the baby was doing gymnastics. Her phone rang. Keisha. "Girl, guess what?" Keisha's voice was breathless with excitement. "What?" "James proposed. Well, officially proposed. With the ring and everything. We're getting married in 6 months, and I want you to be my maid of honor, and before you say you'll be too busy with the baby, I already factored that in. So you have no excuse." Naomi laughed, tears springing to her eyes. "I'd be honored. Literally. Tell me everything." Keisha launched into the story: a rooftop restaurant overlooking Central Park, a string quartet, a speech about how she'd changed his life, a ring that sparkled like starlight. It was perfect. After they hung up, Naomi sat there feeling something she hadn't felt in months: content. She had her job, her son, her friends, her family. She was building a life in New York. She didn't need Min Jun to be whole. But God, she missed him. He'd kept his word. Called Jay every single day without fail. Sent financial support every week. But never pushed her. Never demanded more than she was willing to give. Never tried to manipulate or control. Maybe he really had changed. Her phone buzzed. An unknown number. Unknown. "I'm outside your building. Can I come up?" Her heart stopped. She knew who it was without asking. She didn't respond with words. Just went to the window and looked down 5 floors to the street below. Min Jun stood on the sidewalk looking up at her window. Even from this distance, she could see the hope and fear warring on his face. She pressed the buzzer to let him in. When she opened the apartment door, they just stared at each other for a long moment. He looked different, less polished, less controlled. His hair was slightly messy, his clothes casual, real. "Hi," he said softly. "Hi." His eyes dropped to her belly, and his expression transformed. Awe, wonder, love. You're so beautiful." She touched her stomach self-consciously. "I'm huge. I can't see my feet, and I waddle like a penguin." "You're perfect." He took a tentative step forward. "Can I—" She nodded, and he closed the distance, dropping to his knees in front of her. His hands hovered over her belly, asking permission. When she took his hands and placed them where the baby was kicking, his eyes filled with tears. "She's real," he whispered. "She's very real and very active, especially at 3 a.m. I'm so sorry I wasn't here, for the appointments, for the kicks, for all of it. You're here now." And somehow that was enough. "Min Jun, I love you." He looked up at her from his knees, tears streaming down his face. "I've spent the last 3 months working on myself, going to therapy twice a week, dealing with my abandonment issues, stepping completely away from my father's underground business. I've changed, or I'm changing. I'm trying so hard, Naomi. Please tell me it's not too late." She cupped his face, her thumbs brushing away his tears. "Stand up, please." He stood, and suddenly they were inches apart, her belly between them, the baby kicking against where their bodies almost touched. "I love you too," she whispered. "I never stopped, and I'm scared. I'm so scared you'll hurt me again. But I'm also tired of being angry, tired of being alone, tired of our son asking when his father is coming home. I'm not going anywhere." He wrapped his arms around her carefully, mindfully of her belly. "I'm staying forever. I'm choosing you, choosing us, every single day." "Okay," she breathed. "Okay." He kissed her then, soft and desperate and full of promise. And for the first time in months, Naomi felt complete. "Appa!" Jay's shriek pierced the moment as he came running from his room, launching himself at Min Jun's legs. Min Jun scooped him up, spinning him around, both of them laughing and crying. "Hey, buddy, I missed you so much. Are you staying? Are you really staying forever? Forever and ever." Min Jun looked at Naomi over Jay's head, his eyes shining. "I'm never leaving again." 2 months later, at 2 a.m., Min Jun woke to Naomi shaking his shoulder. "It's time," she said, her voice tight with pain. They made it to the hospital with 20 minutes to spare. 8 hours later, Min-jun held his daughter for the first time, Mia Naomi Kwon, 7 pounds 3 ounces, with her mother's beautiful dark skin and her father's eyes. "She's perfect," he whispered, tears falling onto the blanket wrapped around her. "She is." Naomi was exhausted, sweaty, glowing. "We did good. We did amazing." 6 months later. "To new beginnings." Keisha raised her champagne glass, grinning widely. They were all gathered in Naomi and Min-jun's new Brooklyn brownstone. Naomi, Min-jun, Jay, baby Mia in a carrier, Keisha, James, her new husband, Marcus and his girlfriend Sophia, Naomi's mother, and Tae-hyun, who'd flown in from Seoul. "To new beginnings," everyone echoed, glasses clinking. They'd renewed their vows last month in a small ceremony at Prospect Park, with Jay as ring bearer and Mia as the world's cutest and sleepiest flower girl. It wasn't about erasing the past, Naomi had said. It was about honoring how far they'd come. Min-jun had moved to New York permanently, opening an art import business that worked with Naomi's museum connections. His father visited twice, charmed by his granddaughter and grudgingly impressed by the legitimate empire his son was building. Elena had sent a card. Min-jun had thrown it away without reading it. Some chapters needed to stay closed. Now, surrounded by family and friends, Min-jun felt something he'd never experienced before: peace. True, deep, unshakable peace. Later, after everyone had gone home and the children were asleep, Min-jun and Naomi stood on their small balcony, looking out at the Brooklyn skyline. "What are you thinking?" she asked, leaning into his warmth. "That I almost lost this. That I was inches away from destroying the best thing in my life." He pulled her close, his hand resting on her hip. "And that I'll spend every day for the rest of my life making sure you never doubt my love again." "Good answer." She kissed him softly. "Because you're stuck with me now, for better or worse. Best fate I could imagine." They stood there in the cool night air, two people who'd found their way back to each other through pain and growth and stubborn, relentless love. And for the first time in his life, Min-jun Kwon believed in second chances, because he was living one.